every trimester, we have those animes that you see and think, ugh, why did I do this? And after seeing the first episode of each of them, I have only one question. Could it get worse?
Follow my socials.
Today I'm gonna talk about Araiya-san, and this is a little embarrassing. The anime I saw for episode 1 is not the full episode. This is actually a hentai series, so they shorten the episode and make an ecchi version they can broadcast, the idea being that if you liked it, you can go to their website and see the full version. I also couldn't get the same translation, so if there are differences, I'll point them out. Up to 5 seconds, it's just still frames. Then we see a small butt get big, and that's not how butts work.
Aí durante uns 2 anos eu fui só, entendeu? Pra ficar assim.
Ai, meu Deus do céu.
And when we get to 6 seconds, the regular fan service starts. Big-breasted characters, intrauterine angles, the face didn't have to be shaded, but it goes. Then we have to stop and look at the small boobs get big, get to that moment of, I broke my spine, but the Kemoto is really clear, don't worry. And we're back to the level of thinking breasts.
Arigatou gozaimashita!
But then you see this. Not only are her breasts not as big as they looked, they seem to have different sizes? It seems to be the Seikono-Quasar principle. The more importance you want to give to the character, the bigger you make her breasts. Here we have a quick angle to show that the captain's breasts are almost as big as a volleyball, and to show the main character looking at them. And it's worth noticing that that flare of a different color that the main characters have does not exist in the others. None of the others. Even when he is in the background, he has a little flare, but none of the extras deserves that much makeup, and she is biting her own lower lip. No, the mouth. The premise is that the main character's father works in a bathhouse as a backwasher, and I made sure to point out how ridiculous that is, in particular that there is only one man in all of Japan who has this job. But let's go with the premise for the comedy. The way this is presented is in a TV show that shows him as a widowed father, which in itself is funny. It's not super hyper, no, but it works if you let yourself go into the nonsense, and considering it is Japan, I wouldn't think it's impossible. While I'm watching to do this review and stopping to analyze more calmly, this suddenly works much better. Which means the anime doesn't know how to use its time. For instance, we can start here, have the main character remember the volleyball game, and because it's his memories, he might only think of the fun parts, and avoid that clumsy introduction. The problem is not the parts, the problem is how they are fitting together. I know breasts can be interesting by themselves, trust me, but they have to be done right. Up to here, there were some differences in the translation, but nothing really important. The way she addresses him in the volleyball court is not all that important. One of the translations says he's the new owner of the bathhouse, which is unlikely because of the premise. But here there is an important difference. In one of the translations, the father says that he washes it right and guarantees enjoyment later, which seem to be one of those old people jokes. You know, those jokes that nowadays are more uncomfortable than funny. But in the second version, he says it helps lose weight. It looks like it's a Japanese expression that it was supposed to be a pun. It can both mean valuable for the whole body or valuable for a thin body. And the volleyball star with variable breasts convinces the group to go. In one of the translations, she says it's because it's something traditional. If it is, why didn't anybody think of it before? Why would it be an uncommon option if it's traditional? In the other translation, she wants to go to lose weight, and it makes a little more sense in a stereotypical way. It's entirely possible that all of this is actually supposed to be puns, or that kind of text that seems to have double meaning for the reader. But then his father cannot get up because of his back, and asks the main character to replace him. This does not seem to be a good position for somebody who has back pain, and right after he threatens him to not do any lewd things with the women, with a giant head, ready to listen to music, I'm sure. Then he walks into the place, stops, says there should be only grandmas, and sees all the girls in front of him. One of the girls is shown happy because he is younger than he looks, and that is one of the things an ecchi or hentai can make interesting. Oh, and he has a microsecond of, they didn't recognize me, which is going to become something really stupid in the second episode. And then he sees Yuzuki, his rival, and says he can get his revenge. Here is where the short version ends. They throw an image of what could be her, even though the haircut seems a little different, not that you can tell if you don't pause, and they go right into what seems to be scenes for the next chapter, but in fact are things from the part they didn't use that you need to know to see the second episode. And one of those things is that his rival is in love with him. Again, the problem is not the things they have here themselves. Everything that was here could be interesting. The problem is how lazy and clumsy it has all been done. But from now on, we just have the complete version. For his revenge, he offers to wash her back and basically rapes her. Maybe you can say she's consenting because she continues not saying anything, especially because she knows him and she says she's liking the massage. But in the very best case scenario, it's an attempt at sexual violence that just by sheer coincidence happens to be what she wants. And the team captain says she should wash off and declare her love to him. Then all the girls go to the sauna except the captain, who asks for a massage. But what's really important is to end on the joke that he is ignoring the men's part of the bathhouse. We start with the guy from the end of the other episode saying that the girls next door are making a lot of noise and getting surprised by their existence of a sauna, where we see the girls' bodies. While the main character summarizes the previous episode quickly, she lowers her face to bring him back to reality. And right after, her ass cheeks are really uneven, by the way. One of the girls is using a Kamehameha Hadouken, while Yuzuki is worried. The captain asks about him using a towel, like the first one did as well. Yuzuki goes by and sees him cleaning the captain. The captain reveals she knows who he is, which could be a moment to show that this character is actually quite smart. His friend told her he's afraid of being labeled a pervert, which makes me hate the way these authors think a lot. But the captain blackmails him with a lip close-up that's kind of disturbing. It doesn't even really look like her. He says he likes Yuzuki, even though there's maybe 15, 20 minutes that he knows she likes him. That's fairy tale level right there. And then it's just a porno. By the way, when it gets to 3 minutes 30, they transform her in a monster with open legs, but the hips still behind her. It's something you can't unsee. It still shows up when I close my eyes. No. But then Yuzuki comes back, right after they demonstrate they don't know where the nipples would be on the captain. And after the captain screams and falls down to the floor because of how big the orgasm was, they want you to believe Yuzuki does not know what's happening in the area until she opens the translucent door. And she really didn't know it was him, so there's no chance that the first one wasn't a rape. By the way, the captain, which in every other moment seems to know exactly what's happening, has a moment when she says no. So the second one would be rape too. The captain says she liked it, but again, in the best case scenario, it's sexual violence that just by sheer coincidence she wanted to happen. Oh, and the captain fell on an angle where Yuzuki couldn't have seen her, and it ends on the sauna guy. We'll be right back. Yuzuki is upset with the main guy during a volleyball game, title, and she gets more upset when she knows the captain was also massaged. And after we see the captain running away in a body that looks like two legs that are bigger than they should be just coming out of a skirt, we see an angle that's so extremely hentai that it almost makes the rest of the hentai less worse. Almost. This angle can be used as a definition for the whole hentai. They seem to want to do things directly like this, but they know that it would be too much to just do sex like this, so they hold themselves back while still doing the things without noticing. Not clear? Besides her ass looking bigger than her head, Yuzuki is worried, but it's not because of the sex or the embarrassing situation. She's worried that the captain might want to be with him. The worst is, this is a perfect example of how the Bechdel test does not work. These two characters talk to each other and it's not about a man. So this hentai, or at least that episode, passes. On the other hand, if they thought of this while they were writing, she would probably be worried about how all of this makes the situation between her and the captain more confusing. Although, because it's a hentai, they would probably end up in a chasing Amy solution.
Please don't say it.
So, enraged by the attitude of the person she loves, she cuts the ball with all her frustration right on his face. Why are the girls playing against the boys? Details. Focus on the captain's breast while she is running towards him. And Yuzuki gets pissed off again. And he comes off the nurse's office and goes into the girls' bathroom because somebody switched the signs. And there are curtains there for some reason. Yuzuki confronts him about massaging the captain, and he admits the truth, thinking he lost her. But she grabs him and asks for another massage. And honestly, this moment was more sincere and they felt like confused teenagers, so it was much better. If this had been the beginning, it would have been so much better. She even makes a yandere face that doesn't work. The sound works, but the face looks more upset than pissed off. And of course, it's a hentai. At least it's better. He's still disobeying her, but there's no question that she wants it and he is not doing anything against her will. He's still pretty stupid. Still not knowing after all this if she likes him or not. But it ends with the voices of other girls coming in. So, can it get worse? Yes, but I don't think it necessarily will. The big problem, as far as I saw, is that the series does not know the difference between a sexual act that was spontaneous and rape. There's no way that the character did that as a revenge in the first episode and he didn't know that was not violent. Hentai in general has a really confused attitude towards sex, sometimes giving it importance but other times not. And I think the people writing don't want to do this kind of thing, but they are still going through a lot of confusion. If it stays at the third episode's level, it's not a problem. And just to clarify, the confusion is that when those things were starting in the first and the second episode, there are moments where the girls seem to want it to continue and understand it, but then there are others where it seems they don't want it to continue and they are being violated. I'm never going to say that ridiculous ask permission every 5 seconds things work, but if you start doing something saying you want A, you cannot assume that people would be okay with B. In other words, if he didn't want revenge, maybe he saw her naked and felt something, and he started cleaning her normally with a towel, and in the middle one of them says they want to do more and the other agrees, it's a whole different idea. But that's it. What did you think of this hentai? Leave it on the comments and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.
And if you enjoyed it, please like, share, sub to the channel, and hit that bell.
Even when the main character is in the background, he has a little flair, but none of the others deserves that